The backyard was decorated like something out of a magazine spread. White tents, catered food, a custom banner reading "Congratulations Melissa, MBA graduate." My sister's graduation party had pulled out all the stops, and our parents had spared no expense celebrating her achievement. I stood near the drink table nursing a lemonade and trying to stay invisible. At 28, I'd learned that family gatherings were easier when you didn't draw attention to yourself. Everyone. Dad clinked his glass, standing on the patio steps. I want to say a few words about my brilliant daughter. The 70-some guests turned their attention to him, smiling and attentive. Melissa has just completed her MBA from Wharton, Dad announced, his voice thick with pride. She's already accepted a position at McKinsey as a junior consultant. Starting salary of $95,000, plus bonuses. That's success. That's what happens when you apply yourself to a real career. The crowd applauded. Melissa beamed, her new business suit perfectly pressed despite the June heat. She looked every inch the successful consultant, polished, professional, impressive. Mom dabbed at her eyes. We're so proud. Finally, one of our children understands what it takes to succeed in the real world. Finally. The word hung in the air like an accusation. I took another sip of lemonade and checked my watch. 2:47 p.m. 13 minutes. Now Melissa's going to be making six figures within a few years, Dad continued. She'll be traveling internationally, working with Fortune 500 companies, building real skills. This is what we always hoped for our kids. Uncle Tom raised his beer. Here's to Melissa. The success story of the family. More applause. More cheers. Melissa's friends from business school crowded around her, taking photos, congratulating her, talking about networking opportunities and career trajectories. I stayed by the drink table scrolling through my phone. My PR team had sent the final confirmation at 2:30. Forbes cover goes live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Media embargo lifts simultaneously. Congratulations, Alex. You've earned this. Alex. Aunt Sharon's voice cut through my thoughts. What are you doing hiding over here? Come celebrate your sister. I walked over, offering Melissa a genuine smile. Congratulations. An MBA from Wharton is a huge accomplishment. Thanks, she said, though her eyes were already drifting back to her business school friends. You should think about going back to school, actually. It's never too late to get serious about your career. I'll keep that in mind. Dad overheard and shook his head. Alex is still doing that computer thing. Playing video games or whatever it is. We've given up trying to understand it. It's not video games, Dad. It's... Whatever it is, he interrupted, waving his hand dismissively. The point is, look at your sister. She went to business school. She networked. She landed a real job at a real company. That's the path to success. Cousin David, newly graduated with a finance degree, chimed in. No offense, Alex, but Mom told me you're still coding in your apartment. That's like entry-level IT stuff, right? Don't those jobs pay like 40 grand? Something like that, I said vaguely. You should let Melissa help you, Aunt Sharon suggested brightly. Now that she's at McKinsey, she probably has connections. Maybe they need IT support. Melissa looked uncomfortable but nodded. I mean, I could ask around. They definitely have a tech department. It might not be glamorous, but at least you'd have stability. Health insurance, retirement benefits. That's generous of you, I said. Mom appeared at Dad's elbow, her expression hovering between pride for Melissa and concern for me. Alex, your father and I have been talking. This computer hobby has gone on long enough. You're 28 years old. Melissa's younger than you and she's already building a real career. I have a career. Playing with computers isn't a career, Dad said firmly, his voice rising enough that nearby conversations quieted. It's a hobby. It's what you do in your spare time, not what you build a life around. Uncle Tom nodded sagely. Your dad's right, kid. The tech bubble already burst once. It'll burst again. You need something solid. Something tangible. 2:54 p.m. 6 minutes. You know what your problem is, Alex? Dad was warming up now and I recognized the tone. He'd been drinking and when he drank he got philosophical about my failures. You're smart. Too smart for your own good. You think you're above regular work. Above structure. Above taking orders from a boss. That's not. Let me finish. He held up his hand. You've wasted your 20s playing around on computers. Meanwhile, Melissa worked hard, went to graduate school and landed a prestigious position. He's going places. What do you have to show for the last 6 years? The backyard had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now, drinks paused halfway to lips, conversations abandoned. This was the entertainment portion of the party. Watching Dad lecture his disappointing son. I'm doing fine, I said quietly. Fine. Dad laughed, but there was no humor in it. You live in a studio apartment. You drive a 12-year-old Toyota. You don't have a girlfriend, a 401k, or apparently any ambition beyond whatever game you're coding this week. It's not a game. I run a... Stop playing with computers and get a real job. Dad's voice exploded across the backyard, silencing even the catering staff. The outburst hung in the air. Melissa looked mortified. Mom's face had gone red. The guests shifted uncomfortably, suddenly fascinated by their plates. I checked my watch. 2:58 p.m. 2 minutes. You're embarrassing yourself, Dad continued, his voice lower but no less intense. You're embarrassing this family. Look at your sister. Look at what real success looks like. Then look at yourself and ask if you're proud of what you see. I met his eyes. I am actually... He scoffed. Of course you are. That's the problem. You're delusional. You think your little computer games are important. You think you're building something. But you're just wasting time while the rest of the world moves forward. 2:59 p.m. I could feel my phone vibrating in my pocket. Messages flooding in. My PR team, my executive assistant, my board members. All watching, all waiting. I'm not arguing with you, I said calmly. You're entitled to your opinion about my career. It's not an opinion, it's a fact, Dad said. You're a 28-year-old man playing video games while your younger sister. Uncle Tom's phone chimed. Then Cousin David's. Then 3 more phones around the circle. What the hell? Uncle Tom muttered, pulling out his phone. His face went slack. Holy. More phones were chiming now, buzzing, chirping. A notification cascade spreading through the party like wildfire. Melissa's business school friend Stephanie gasped. Oh my God. Is this real? What? Melissa asked. What's happening? Stephanie turned her phone around, showing the screen to the group. I couldn't see it from where I stood, but I knew exactly what it displayed. Forbes magazine's latest cover story. The 30 Under 30 AI Revolution. How Alex Chin built a $3.2 billion empire from his bedroom. The photo was from last month's shoot. Me in a simple black shirt, standing in front of Quantum AI's server room, arms crossed, looking directly at the camera. The photographer had wanted, confident but approachable. Based on the reactions spreading through the backyard, she'd succeeded. Alex Chin, Aunt Sharon read aloud, her voice faint. That's you. That's our Alex. Dad had gone pale. His phone was in his hand, trembling slightly as he scrolled through the article. Cousin David was reading rapidly, his expression cycling through disbelief, shock and something that looked like nausea. This says you founded Quantum AI 6 years ago. That you developed a machine learning platform that's revolutionizing data analytics. That you have 340 employees across 4 countries. 347 as of this morning, I corrected gently. We hired 7 new engineers yesterday. Mom's phone nearly slipped from her hands. This article says your company is valued at $3.2 billion. Alex, that can't be right. Actually, that's a conservative estimate. Our last funding round valued us at $3.7 billion, but Forbes used the lower number to be safe. The backyard had transformed into a frozen tableau. 70 people stood motionless, phones in hand, staring at screens or staring at me. Melissa's voice was barely a whisper. You're on the Forbes cover. Yes. The actual Forbes cover. The magazine. That's correct. Uncle Tom was scrolling frantically. There's a whole feature. 6 pages. It talks about how you dropped out of Stanford after 1 semester to start the company. How you coded for 16 hours a day for 2 years straight. How you turned down acquisition offers from Google and Microsoft because you believed in your vision. I did turn them down, I confirmed. Though I'm keeping the door open for partnerships. Stephanie, the business school friend, looked like she might cry. The article quotes the CEO of Amazon. He says Quantum AI's platform is the most significant advancement in machine learning infrastructure in the last decade. Jeff's been very supportive, I said. Jeff, Dad repeated faintly. Jeff Bezos. We had dinner last month to discuss a potential collaboration. Aunt Sharon had found a different article. TechCrunch says you're the youngest self-made billionaire in the AI sector. They're calling you the next Elon Musk. I hope not, I said. I prefer to stay off Twitter. Melissa's mentor from McKinsey, a senior partner who'd been holding court near the buffet table, cleared his throat. Alex Chin. Quantum AI. I've heard our data analytics team discussing your platform. They say it's transformative. We try. They say McKinsey is paying $400,000 annually for access to your enterprise tier. Melissa's face went white. Her starting salary, the $95,000 everyone had been celebrating, suddenly seemed very small. Dad was still reading, his phone shaking in his hands. This article mentions you were featured in Time magazine last year. It says you spoke at the World Economic Forum in Davos. It says. He looked up at me, his eyes unfocused. It says you're advising the Department of Defense on AI strategy. That's classified, I said. But yes, generally speaking. Mom had tears streaming down her face. Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you say anything? I did tell you. 6 years ago I said I was starting a company. You said I was wasting my Stanford education. 4 years ago I invited you to our Series B funding celebration. You said you were busy with Melissa's undergraduate graduation prep. 2 years ago I mentioned we'd been acquired by SoftBank at a $1.2 billion valuation. Dad changed the subject to football. The silence that followed was deafening. Cousin David was reading from yet another article. This profile says you still live in a modest apartment and drive an old car because you prefer to invest in the company and the team rather than personal luxuries. The Toyota runs fine, I said with a shrug. And my apartment has everything I need. Melissa's voice cracked. All this time, we thought you were failing. We thought you were some kind of basement-dwelling coder going nowhere. I was a bedroom-dwelling coder going everywhere. Close enough. Uncle Tom found a video interview. My voice emerged from his phone speaker. Success isn't about fancy offices or expensive cars. It's about solving real problems for real people. Quantum AI processes over 40 billion data points daily for clients ranging from healthcare companies saving lives to logistics firms optimizing supply chains. That's what matters. That's what I built. Dad finally spoke, his voice hollowed out. The computer games. You kept saying you were working on something important and I said. You said I was playing games, I finished. You said it was a hobby. You said I needed to grow up and get a real job. I was wrong. The words seemed to physically hurt him. I was completely, catastrophically wrong. Mom reached for me but I stepped back. Alex, please. We didn't understand. If you'd just explained. I tried to explain. For 6 years I tried. But you didn't want to understand. You wanted me to fit into your definition of success and when I didn't, you decided I was a failure. Melissa was crying now. I offered to help you get an IT job. Oh God, I offered you an entry-level IT position. You're a billionaire and You're not responsible for their assumptions, I said and I meant it. Congratulations on your MBA. McKinsey is lucky to have you. Her business school mentor looked ill. Mr. Chin, Alex, I apologize for any disrespect. If there's ever an opportunity to discuss how McKinsey might partner with Quantum AI. My head of business development handles partnership inquiries, I said politely. Her contact information is on our website. Stephanie was still reading. There's a quote here from the MIT Media Lab director. She says you've been a major donor to their AI ethics program. It says you've donated over $50 million to various tech education initiatives. $50 million. More than Melissa would earn in her entire career at McKinsey, even if she made partner. My phone buzzed. My assistant. CNN wants a live interview at 5 p.m. Bloomberg at 6. Can you make it back to the office? I texted back, I'll be there. I need to go, I announced to the frozen crowd. I have interviews scheduled with CNN, Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal. You know, media obligations that come with being on the Forbes cover. Alex, wait, Dad said desperately. We need to talk about this. We need to. Talk about what? About how for 6 years, you've told me I was wasting my life. About how you compared me to Melissa's conventional success and found me lacking. About how 20 minutes ago, you screamed at me to get a real job. His face crumpled. I'm sorry. God, Alex, I'm so sorry. I believe you're sorry. I believe you regret it now that you know there are billions of dollars attached to my computer games. But would you be sorry if I was still struggling? Would you respect my work if Forbes hadn't validated it? He had no answer. I looked around the backyard, at my family, at the guests, at all the people who'd watched Dad humiliate me, and said nothing. Melissa, congratulations again on the MBA. You worked hard and you should be proud. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Dad? That real job you wanted me to get? Quantum AI currently employs 347 people across 4 countries. We provide real jobs with real salaries, real health insurance, and real 401k matching. Last year we paid out $47 million in employee bonuses. So I guess you could say I did get a real job. I created 347 of them. The last thing I heard as I walked out was Mom's broken sob and Dad's whispered, "What have we done?" The CNN interview went well. Anderson Cooper asked thoughtful questions about AI ethics, the future of machine learning, and what it felt like to build a billion-dollar company before 30. Your Forbes profile mentions you come from a family that didn't initially understand your work, he said. How did you handle the lack of support? I built something so undeniable they couldn't ignore it, I answered. Success is the best response to doubt. The Bloomberg interview followed, then the Wall Street Journal. By 8 p.m. I was trending on Twitter. By midnight, Quantum AI's website had crashed from traffic. By morning, we'd received 847 new partnership inquiries and 2,300 job applications. My phone was full of messages from family members. Dad had called 16 times. Mom had sent a 20-paragraph text explaining how proud she was, how she'd always believed in me, how she knew I'd do great things. Except she hadn't. None of them had. Melissa's message was different. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know that watching you walk away today was the most humbling experience of my life. You built something extraordinary while we mocked you. That says everything about your character and everything about ours. I'm sorry doesn't cover it, but I'm sorry anyway. I stared at the message for a long time, then put the phone down without responding.